pain and trauma that it created.
Joe Jonas's dark side is getting exposed once and for all. For years, he hid just how toxic he truly was, but now that his divorce with Sophie is coming out, his toxic behavior is too, and it's truly insane just how gross he's been over the years. Joe Jonas kept his dark side hidden for so long, but under the surface, his behavior was disgusting. He has a history of going after girls who are much younger than him and trying to groom them into who he wants them to be, which is exactly what he did with Sophie. It started with Gigi. He first asked her out on a date when she was just 13 years old and he was 19. She turned him down, but that didn't stop him. They ended up dating 7 years later when she was 20 and he was 26. And that wasn't the first time that he dated someone much younger and tried to mold them into the person he wanted. Many people don't know that Sophie was just 19 years old when she started dating Joe. They got married when she was only 23. She became the perfect wife and mother that he always wanted in just a few short years, and had 2 kids by the time she was 26. She put her own career on hold to raise their kids and follow him around on tour. And then the second that she went back to work, Joe couldn't handle it, and their problems started coming to the surface. He ultimately filed for divorce last week, and most people believe that it was because she wasn't fitting the mold of wife and mother that he wanted her to fit. And it is pretty gross to think about just how much this is a pattern for him. He goes after younger women and then grooms them into being what he wants, only to leave them when they decide to become their own person again.
Us against the world, you know?
Joe Jonas caught Sophie Turner on his Ring camera, doing the unthinkable, and now he has officially filed for divorce. For years, everyone thought they were a perfect couple, but now the truth on what actually went down with these two is coming out, and it's not good. Joe seemed perfectly fine walking around NYC without his ring on, but behind closed doors, he has completely fallen apart. Look, he was seen sobbing on stage a night or 2 ago, and I've heard from close sources that he's heartbroken. So what happened? Why didn't they work out? The news about Joe and Sophie took everyone by surprise, especially after someone from Joe's team leaked what actually went down. Supposedly, Joe caught Sophie doing something horrible on their Ring camera. It was allegedly so bad that they wouldn't say what it was. But whatever it was, it made Joe absolutely positive that there was no coming back from it, and he decided to file for divorce. According to the filing, Joe said that their marriage is irrevocably broken, which is usually code for cheating or betrayal. Is it possible that Sophie cheated on Joe? There was definitely a lot of drama going on behind closed doors. They've essentially been living completely separate lives. Joe's been on tour in America with his brothers, and Sophie's been in the UK. But those weren't the only signs we got that something was going wrong with them. Obviously, we could argue that Sophie has been in the UK because she was filming a new project, but she's been suspiciously absent from most of Joe's concerts lately. While his brothers, wives, and kids are always in attendance, that's not to say that she's been completely absent. She did go to opening night, which doesn't exactly scream separated, and she even photographed herself wearing a friendship bracelet that referenced a Taylor Swift song about Joe Jonas, Mr. Perfectly Fine. And while Sophie's been known for years to make jokes about Taylor's breakup songs about Joe, you have to wonder if Sophie had started to relate to them too. Mr. Perfectly Fine is all about Joe out in public after their breakup, looking like he's perfectly fine while Taylor is at home and super upset about everything that happened, which sounds like it could be pretty similar to what Joe and Sophie are supposedly going through, except for the fact that it sounds like everything has come crashing down for Joe, and he has looked completely heartbroken at his concerts lately. When he's been singing Hesitate lately, a song that he specifically wrote for Sophie, he's been extremely emotional and even sobbing on stage. That being said, his ring has been absent on and off for the last few weeks, but he claimed that he just chose not to wear it sometimes. Strangely enough, the same day the news came out that they were heading for divorce, Joe decided to wear his ring on stage that night for one of the first times in a long time, and just hours before he filed for divorce, he posted an Instagram picture with his ring on, which made a lot of rumors leak that maybe it was Joe's last attempt to try and win back Sophie. What do you think? But when you look back at their relationship, it's not very shocking. Joe is much older than Sophie. They got married when he was 29 and she was only 23, and they got married just a few months after Game of Thrones ended, a show that Sophie had starred in since she was 13 years old. She was going through a massive transition phase in her life, and she's even admitted that they both got cold feet before the wedding, and they broke up 24 hours before deciding that they were being dumb. They immediately got back together and got married in Vegas. Then they almost immediately started having kids, even though she was only in her early 20s. In a little under 2 years, they had 2 babies, which is already a hard situation, but even more so when one of the parents is touring the country and another one is in an entirely different country working. On top of that, Sophie was young when she jumped into all of this. She's only 27 now, and she's already been married for 4 years. You can only imagine that her thoughts and opinions have changed a lot in the last 4 years. So now that we know for sure that they're getting divorced, based on Joe's latest outings, it definitely seems like this was not his decision and that he is not taking this well. Even though they've definitely seemed like the perfect couple over the years, everything isn't always as it seems. Hopefully, if they are struggling, they're able to work it out and stay together. I really feel bad for their 2 young babies. They're only 1 and 3 years old. They are so young, and now that we know that Joe and Sophie are actually going through this divorce, it won't be easy. My heart aches for Sophie, Joe, and especially the babies. What do you think? Can you believe that they're actually getting divorced already when their kids are so young? And do you think Joe is really as heartbroken as he's making it seem? Let me know in the comments below.